What you guys, in this video we're going to be taking a look at how to protect your privacy on Windows 10. Now this is quite a common question. People ask this question all the time. It's pretty simple to do, and I'll show you some of the steps that I do to make the system a little bit more secure and less snoopy. So let's have a look at the settings here. So once we get inside the settings, where we want to head to is the privacy tab. This is where mainly all of the work is going to be done. So in general, you can see here, this is an area where we definitely want to disable all this stuff because this is advertising ID. So I'm just going to turn all of these off. Okay, now you're going to probably get the general gist of using Windows 10. Mostly all of the settings are going to be turned off. There's a heap of settings that you just have to go through and turn off. That is just generally what we do here. So you can see here, speech settings, online speech recognition, that's turned off. Inking and typing personalization, definitely turn that off. If you go and read all the small print, you'll see what it's all about here. Make sure basic settings is on. If you're on full send, then basically put that onto basic. And you want to make sure all this other stuff is off, and delete all the diagnostic data. That is all the data that is being sent back to Microsoft, so make sure you do that. Feedback frequency, I'm going to also change this down to never. I don't want to send feedback to Microsoft without knowing what type of data is being sent back. That's why I want to put that on never. Also, recommended troubleshooting, I'm going to put this on only fix critical problems for me. That's the setting I'm going to be putting there. You can put ask me before fixing the problems. Personally, I'm just going to let it fix critical problems. Now, activity history is something that I want to disable. You can see send my activity history to Microsoft and store my activity history on this device. That will be web browsers that you've opened and pages you've been to. They will open up on that page that you just visited. Now, that can be quite dangerous in my personal opinion, so I'm going to disable those and clear the activity history on this computer. I don't want my history being sent back to Microsoft to let them know what sites I've been visiting. That's just, to me, a little bit creepy. So let's move on to location. Again, this is another choice that some people might want to leave on. I am going to change this and turn it off. It's already off. This will give the location of the area where you live. It's for weather and things like that. You can get weather in other ways and other methods, but you don't need to have the location thing on. You can clear your location history here. And also, if you do want to leave it on, you can choose which apps you want to leave on. Cameras, I'm going to be turning this off as well. And I don't want any of these programs accessing my camera. Now, if there is an app that you want to use your camera on, you can leave that on, like Skype or something like that if you use it. Now, the microphone you need to be a bit careful on because you might need this microphone to work with a certain device, so disabling all of it may cause you problems. So have a good look here to find out what you want to leave it on for and what you want to disable it for, or you can just disable it altogether. You can see here, allow desktop apps to access my microphone. There's a bunch of other settings in here which you can go through and allow microphone to work with certain hardware and certain bits of software on your system. So just bear that in mind. If you look at the desktop apps down below, you'll see a bunch of other stuff down there, like you can see Camtasia, which I'm using at the moment. If I disabled all of these, none of these would work on here. Okay, but I'm using it for Camtasia right now, so I don't want to disable that area. But if any other ones, you can disable it on here as well if you wish. Now you can see also PUBG down there and a bunch of other items that are using this microphone, so be very careful what you disable, okay, otherwise it's not going to work. So let's move on to another area which is called voice activation. I'm going to just disable all of this. I don't need voice activation here. And this is also, you can see, use Cortana when your device is locked. I don't need all that sort of stuff on, so I'm going to turn a lot of this off. And you can just read through here just to make sure. So don't just go following what I'm telling you to do here. Use your own personal preferences for your system. Notifications, I'm going to be turning this off, and I'm going to change to make sure this is off as well. Just make sure that's all off there. Also, account info. again, you're getting the sort of idea here that we're pretty much turning everything off. Now, you would have thought that Microsoft would have known by now that most people don't want this particular stuff turned on, and that's why applications have been invented to remove a lot of these features and disable a lot of this stuff. And that is what's really sort of crippling Microsoft right now and Windows 10, and it's also really getting people's backs up and maybe making them jump ship to Linux and other operating systems because they're sick to the back teeth of having to do this every time there's an update. So we're moving on here, as you can see, starting to get onto a bit of a rant there, but we're going into contacts here, and again it's the same old thing, disabling stuff here. But if you've got certain items that you need again to be enabled, then just make sure you leave those enabled. I'm going to be turning this feature off, but if you do need it, then you can leave it on. Again, with calendar, contacts and calendars are another sort of area where some people may need to leave this stuff on because obviously that's what they use in their daily workflow. But if you don't use it, then you can turn it off. Phone calls, I definitely don't use none of this stuff, so that will be going off as well. And I'm going to go down to call history here. Don't need any of this stuff on either. Let me just quickly turn this stuff off. There we go. Moving on to email now. Again, this is another touchy area. Some people may need email, certain types of settings in here. So before you start disabling it, just check to make sure everything is okay for you. If you do want to leave it on, you can leave, say, mail and calendar on if that's what you're using. If you use the people feature, then obviously leave that on. Cortana's definitely going off. But here we go, moving on to tasks here. And we're just going to remove a lot of this stuff as well. Messaging, same thing, off. And you can see Cortana's related to all of this stuff. And this is because she's collecting data, voice and stuff like that, and sending it all back to Microsoft, which is not good. So here we go. Other devices, this is a definite turn off because communicating with unpaired devices, we don't want that, so turn that off. Again, background apps, if you've got background apps that you want to disable, you can do it inside here. I'd advise you to leave the ones you want to leave on, but I'm going to be turning a lot of these background apps off. In fact, I'm going to be turning them all off, so that's because they'll be running in the background. So let's move on to another thing. I will be removing Candy Crush and all that other stuff at a later date, but this is just about privacy settings in Windows 10. App diagnostics, again, app diagnostics is something that I'm going to be turning off because that would obviously be sending data back to Microsoft. And again, documents, this will all be going off as well. You've got pictures, videos and file system as well. You can turn all of that stuff off, and that is the privacy area. You can see you have to jump through a ton of hoops here to get to where you want to be, to get a faster, stable and much more usable operating system. By having all this running in the background will just slow the system up, and of course sending loads of data back. The file system here, I'm going to leave Office on because I use Office on this system, so I will leave that on. But basically, yeah, once you've disabled a lot of this stuff, you'll probably find that your system is not as slow because this stuff does send a lot of data back and grind your system down. I'm pretty sure background apps running when you're gaming can also slow down the system. Now, a big one for me is Cortana. I definitely want to disable her. She is on the system. She is embedded into the Windows 10 operating system. There is not a lot you can do about Cortana apart from physically turning everything off and going into group policy and removing all of her capabilities, but it is still hard coded into Windows 10, which is not good. There should be an option just to remove the whole thing, but obviously they won't let you do that. You can use those dodgy operating systems you'll see online, which has a lot of features removed. Be very careful with those because they are laced with malware and backdoors. So I'll make a video on that topic. Also going to go into group policy editor here. If you've got Windows 10 Pro, this is another plus side because you can go into the group policy editor and make some group policy changes to completely disable a lot of those features that you don't want to be running on your system. And just for a couple of bucks, you can upgrade to Windows 10 Pro, which makes your system a lot more secure. Now, obviously, there is a heap more stuff that I could go through here. I'm just keeping this to the privacy sort of side of things in this video. So if you want to see more about this sort of stuff, then watch some of my other content that I've already created. But inside here, what we're going to do is go to the search area where it says allow Cortana, and I'm going to go in here and I'm going to physically disable this so it doesn't work, because I don't want any part of Cortana running on my system. You will see allow Cortana above the lock screen and a bunch of other things like allow cloud search. If you want to go through here and disable a lot of this stuff, you can do. You can see here allow Cortana page in OOBE on the AAD account. If you want to disable those, you can do. You can just go through here with a fine tooth comb and do what you want to do inside here. Okay, I'm just going to be disabling that Cortana there. Next up, we're going to be going down to services here, and there's just a couple of services that I want to just make sure that are disabled. These are the data collecting type, and they also send it back to Microsoft. Now, I've already done videos on how to disable a bunch of different services. Go on through my archive section and you will see a ton of videos on that topic already. So I'm just going to go through here and show you just the data collecting type of services that are running, and it's just a couple of them inside here which I want to take a look at, which is connected user experience and telemetry properties. So we're going to go in here and we are going to disable this one. Now there is some other types in here which you can disable, but I've covered those in other videos, but this is the main type in here. I'm just going to go into properties here and look at recovery here and just make sure that these are all set to take no action. You don't have to really do this part, but I want to put this in here just to make sure. And you can just put all these in take no action, and also the reset fail count after 1 day. You can make this 365 days if you're getting super paranoid about it, but basically, yeah, we'll just do that as well. And what we can do as well is, once we've done this, if you want to go a bit deeper into the services, I've already made videos, as I've already said, but you can go through here and there's a bunch of other stuff inside here which you can disable if you wish. Now there's just one more area which I wanted to go into, which is the group policy editor here, and I just want to go back in here to the local group policy editor and go to computer configuration, administrative templates, and then Windows components. And then what we're looking for here is data collection. And once we find that, there we go, data collection and preview builds. Click on there, and over the right hand side you should see allow telemetry and some other options there available for you to disable if you want to do that. So if you want to go through here, you can go in and disable a bunch of these. And this is the best way to disable a lot of this stuff. You can see disable diagnostic data viewer. You've got also configure telemetry, opt in and out. There's a bunch of other settings inside here which you can turn off if you wish, but that's entirely up to you. But basically, yep, just go through here with a fine tooth comb. Now, if you don't want to go through all of this palaver every single time, there is small applications which you can download off the internet which will make this a lot more easy. You can see here, configure connect to user experience and telemetry is in there as well. If you look further down the list on that area there, you can disable this one as well if you wanted to. There is so much to disable on Windows 10. It would take forever to make a whole video on the complete process. So a lot more easier is something like this. WPD is the real privacy dashboard for Windows. This will allow you to disable a lot of these features with some sliders, and it's very simple and easy to do. So let me open it up and just show you. If you don't want to go through all of that, or you have got Windows 10 Home and you haven't got the group policy editor, then something like this will make your life a lot more easier. You can see here block Windows telemetry IPs, and you've also got a bunch of other bits and pieces inside here which allows you to use these slider buttons to disable a lot of the customer experience improvement program and a bunch of other things like telemetry, and there's little pop-up bubbles here which you can read, which gives you all of that information. And you can see here Windows customer experience. There's quite a load of those on here in different areas of the operating system, and all you need to do here is go in there and do those. This program is pretty decent, and it also has an uninstaller which allows you to uninstall some of the applications that you don't want to use. But basically, if you want to make your life a lot easier, then something like WPD is going to make it much more simpler to take control of Windows 10. Now, I know we shouldn't have to jump through this many hoops to get an operating system back to the way we want it, or to opt out of all of this consumer experience programs and customer programs and data collecting and telemetry and God knows what else. The amount of collecting information they've got in this operating system is really ridiculous. And I think what it is basically profiling people, and people have had enough and they don't know what else to do. Now, there is options available. You can jump ship over to operating systems like Linux or even Mac if you want to. And Linux has an array of different types of operating systems which you can use, like Manjaro or Mint or Peppermint or whatever it is you want to choose to use as your Linux operating system. There's plenty to choose from. Now, it's not Windows, let's face it. It's a different operating system, but if you want to do no more this nonsense with spying and taking all these settings off, then Linux is your only option, really. To be honest, it is free. It's a learning curve that you're going to have to start to grasp. And of course, if you are going to take that leap of faith, then obviously leave Windows behind and go full on and put all your efforts into learning a new operating system. It's not that bad once you get stuck in. Anyway, my name has been Brian from briteccomputers.co.uk. Hope this one helps you out. Thanks again for watching. Bye for now. Now, if you haven't subscribed yet, hit the big red subscribe button on my YouTube channel and hit the bell notification button next to that to be notified when we upload new videos.